Hey, it's Dr. Wood, and day number 2 of our walk. So we're heading out. Uh, Remember, day number 2 is just another block, right? Just another peg in our desire to be consistent. And we talked about consistency yesterday and really went through a whole discussion on consistency and developing habits, setting routines, setting goals. So if you've not done so, go back and watch that and make sure you do the exercise that goes along with that. Today we're talking about keystone habits. And as you heard me say earlier, keystone habits are habits that are fundamental to the things that we do. They are really kind of the linchpin, in other words for them, of all the things that we will do to try to be healthy. Okay, and so we want to make sure that we are understanding what keystone habits are. Remember, they're the things that have ripple effects on a lot that we do. We got the sun here that's in my eyes, but that's okay. We're heading down. The sun is starting to set, and really, I'm kind of excited about this process. I shouldn't say kind of. I am excited about this process because this is a place where we begin the journey to being more intentional about our metabolic health. If you're out there, you may have some reason for why you're doing this. You must have some reason. And in fact, yesterday we started talking about your why. And so today, keystone habits. And so what are some basics that we want to know about keystone habits? Keystone habits are foundational, right? So they are, like I said, the underpinnings of a lot that we are going to do, and a lot that will help to set us up for success. And so because they're foundational, they must, by virtue of that, be strong. And what I mean by that is keystone habits come directly from the goal that we've set for ourselves, the goal that we have come up for from our why. If we have a strong why and we've set some smart goals, then from that now, as we begin deciding what the process is that we are going to do, the keystone habit comes from that. For example, exercising, right? So if our goal is exercising, a keystone habit may be getting up early in the morning. So getting up early in the morning, once we get up early in the morning, then everything else kind of falls in place. If you're getting up late and you know that in the morning, if you don't get things done in the morning, then it doesn't happen, then guess what? That becomes a keystone habit. Now, I know for me, and right now I am actually walking in the afternoon, and you see the sun is actually coming down. I intended to come out about an hour ago, which I didn't do because I was working on something else. But for me, early in the morning may be a keystone habit, because if I don't get things done in the morning, often those things get left behind. Okay, so we'll see for this when I do it. As I mentioned in my original video, or the day number 1, that I don't have a particular time when I say I'm going to walk, but I am going to plan to walk every day, right? So we've got 100 days, and you may be someone that says, hey, for me, I have got to wake up early in the morning. So it is foundational, and then it has to be simple, right? So keystone habits can't be very complicated, or we don't do them, right? So we tend not to do things that are very complicated. Our minds, our brains like to simplify things. And so if you are making this very complicated, then it doesn't work. As I mentioned before, sometimes we say, I'm going to get off of work and I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna change, I'm gonna eat dinner, and I'm gonna get my stuff packed, and then I'm gonna go back to the gym. And that sounds pretty complicated. And there are some of you out there that will get that done. But for the most part, for a lot of us, that process is very complicated. And so it doesn't get done, not because we don't have the desire and not because we don't have a goal, but it doesn't get done because it is very complicated. And then a keystone habit also has to be measurable. Okay, so measurable. So one of the parts of the SMART goal, remember, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So and so measurable is in there, and so keystone habits also have to be measurable, because if you can't measure it, then we don't know if that habit is working. We don't know if it's actually doing what we need it to do. There's a dog right here, so give me just a second. Let me deal with that. I'll be right back. All right, so I'm back. All right, so keystone habits. Right, so we said measurable, okay? So a keystone habits for exercising may be, hey, I'm gonna walk 5,000 steps, 10,000 steps today, okay? That is something that is measurable. I'm going to lose a half a pound a week, right? That is something that is measurable. Now, the week might be a long time, because if we're trying to do habits, we're actually trying to do something that we're doing daily, okay? So getting up in the morning at a particular time, a certain number of steps, certain number of calories. Those are all things that potentially can be keystone habits for you, depending on what you're doing, depending on what your goal is. How about a keystone habit dealing with professional success? Maybe for professional success, you may say, hey, in order for me to be successful, I've got to plan my day, right, at the beginning of the day. Or I've got to plan my day the night before. All right, we've talked about journaling in this space. If you've not seen my show on journaling, make sure you go back and you watch that. So one of the things that I do is I will bookend my day. So I'll start my day off by sitting down and talking about what I need to do for today, what things from yesterday do I need to bring over. And then, of course, at the end of the day, I will sit down and say, hey, what have I accomplished? What are some of the successes? What are some of the places where I've had good result? And what do I need to take over from today into tomorrow? So that is, when we talk about professionally, that is one of those, that is a keystone that you may set for yourself in terms of the professional arena. Yeah, this dog is continuing to follow me, but that's okay, right? I'm not sure whose dog it is. All right. So how do you identify keystone habits? And this one takes some reflection, and it takes some emotional intelligence, takes some mindfulness. And so the question that we want to ask, well, one of the questions is, which habit, if I develop it, or what? So let's talk a little bit about some examples of keystone habits. Let's talk maybe about physical health, right? So exercising is our goal. And so walking every day may be a keystone habit, right? So you set a SMART goal for a certain metabolic destination, a goal, a SMART goal, and exercise is a part of that, right? So that's how you are going to achieve it. And then now, what's the habit that you're going to put in place that's going to help you get there? And so for you, the keystone habit may be walking every day, regularly exercising every day. Okay. And then further, you can break that down. I'm going to walk 10,000 steps, as we just said. Let's see, what's something that we can talk about in terms of mental health. So if you're someone who struggles with anxiety or depression or worry, you may set a goal that I'm going to, be. It's okay. I'm not going to worry about a particular thing, right? And I'm coming up with these examples as we go. And so a keystone habit for you may simply be meditation. So daily meditation to help you in that process. And so if you meditate on a daily basis, that helps you deal with anxiety. It helps you deal with depression. It helps you deal with worry. And so that is a keystone habit that you will need to pay attention to. Okay, so notice that these keystone habits are measurable and they are simple. Okay, we mentioned that before. They have to be simple. So how about a keystone habit? So one way to begin identifying these keystone habits, waiting for the dog to go by and for this car to move as well. And so the question to be asked is, if one habit, if I adopt it, would cause or have the greatest impact on my life, on my behavior, on my success in whatever area we're talking about. Okay, so that's one. Or which behavior, if changed, would provide the greatest benefit for me. And so in order to be able to answer those types of questions, you've really got to know yourself. You've got to have a clear destination or a clear goal of where you want to be. And you've got to be aware of some of the things in your life that may not be as effective all right, in getting you to the destination that you want to go. And this takes some honest reflection. It takes the ability to know yourself. It takes honesty, because we are very good sometimes at deceiving ourselves. We will say, oh, that's, well, basically, you understand, right? So we want to make sure that we are honest with ourselves so that we know the things that are derailing us. And this is the idea of looking at patterns, right? So what are some patterns that you've noticed that, hey, this thing continues to plague me, and it continues to be the thing that's causing me trouble. Okay, so looking at patterns, right? That's a great way of doing it. Identify what actions, when done consistently, right, have gotten you either success or they've not been that successful. Often we repeat things over and over, and we expect different results. Well, that's one of the definitions of crazy, right? That is to continue doing the same thing and expecting a different action. And that does not, as you know, that does not work. Because if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same stuff. And if you keep getting the same stuff, then we don't get the success that we often think we need, or the success that we are looking for. And so making sure that you are not continuing those patterns that aren't serving you is one way of identifying these keystone habits, these keystone behaviors. So now that we've identified keystone habits, how do we begin building the habit that we want? Okay, we've identified what the keystone is. How do we begin making that a permanent part of what we do? Number one, start simple. If you've never run before, on day one, don't plan to run 5 miles. Okay? Day one, how about getting up and walking down the street? Day one, how about starting even at just beginning to set a time? I mentioned, I'm not sure if it was in this space or I was doing a talk recently, and I mentioned to them that sometimes I'll tell people, just, you know what, get up and go to the door, right? At 5 o'clock, say 5 o'clock is gonna be your time, get up and go to the door. Don't try to get up and go walk 3-4 miles, just go to the door. I remember when years ago we had a treadmill, and was it treadmill or elliptical? I think it was elliptical. We've had a couple of things. And I had not been on it for a while, and I decided I was gonna get on there. And I got on there, and things seemed to be going well, and I decided, yeah, I'm just going to make this the maximum. I'm going to do it. And I stayed on there for about an hour and a half. And you know what happened? Oh yeah, my body said, no. This is not how we're going to go out. And so what ended up happening was that for the next, 2-3 weeks, I didn't get back on the treadmill. Because that first week I was in pain, right? My body was hurting. And every time I wanted to get on the treadmill, I remembered what it was like that first time. So start simple. Don't try to run a marathon if you've not done anything like that in a while. The next thing is to track your progress. I'm a big tracker, whether you're using an app. Oh, and speaking about apps, I didn't turn my app on. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So when I left the house, I didn't turn on my app that tracks my walk. But the idea is to definitely track, right, what you're doing. If you want to make a change, if you ever want to improve something, the best way to begin improving is to, of course, begin tracking. Because when you're tracking, you know if you're hitting those goals, you know if you are hitting those milestones. In fact, the reason I thought about that as we got into this session is right about here, I expected my app to give me some statistics about how far I'd walked and what my pace was and all that kind of stuff. And it didn't do it. So I think, hey, wait, something is going on. But begin tracking, right? Whether it's an app that you use, a habit tracker, or you've got a notebook, you've got a journal, you've got something that you're going to use to begin logging that, okay? Because the tracking does lots of different things. Number one, as we talked about yesterday, it's a motivation, right? When you see that tracking and you see the progress, then you begin looking at the different successes that you've had. It's a way to encourage yourself, a way to strengthen that inner coach that you have. This is the pond that I usually come to when I get here. So being able to track is a wonderful way of making sure that you are keeping track of those milestones and to be able to celebrate your successes. So make sure that you are doing that. And let me move over here so I don't get these people in my view. Okay. All right. So track, and then create triggers. Create things that can be associated with what you're doing. One of the things that we talked about is attaching behaviors to other behaviors, other habits. Okay, so that those habits now trigger the behavior that you're looking at. Okay. So for example, set environmental cues. I mentioned that I have on my phone these little triggers that come up that ask me a question, and those are triggers for me. because it helps me now to say, hey, I've got to be mindful. It helps set me up for success in some of the other things that I do. One simple thing, for example, is lay out your clothes at night, or lay out your clothes in the morning, or pack your clothes in the morning, so that triggers you to know, okay, today I'm going to go to the gym, today I'm going to go exercise. If you're going to exercise before you leave work or leave home, lay them out, so you get up in the morning and the clothes are right there, and it says, oh, that's right, I'm supposed to go walking today, and you go walk. Now, there are times that you are not going to walk as far, or as long as you said you're going to walk, and that's okay. But the point of it is to walk, right? The point of it is to get out there and to be consistent. And so here in my walking, which is why I didn't set a particular time, because my goal is 100 days of walking, right? I'm not particular about the time of the day, but I want to be sure that I'm walking every day. And so I'm going to walk, like yesterday I walked in the morning, kind of mid-morning. Today I'm walking in the afternoon. Tomorrow I'm not sure, right? We've got some stuff that's going on around mid-morning, so I may get up in the morning and do that, or try to do it late in the afternoon. For me though, I know that the later it gets in the day, the more difficult it's going to be to get that in, because my day gets very busy. So I may need to plan that I'm getting up in the morning to get that done. Okay, well, we'll see how that goes. But set these triggers, so the triggers help you know where you are. Well, not help you know where you are, but they help you to be consistent in your activity. So what are some benefits of keystone habits? Well, keystone habits can have a domino effect, right? So remember that keystone habits affect almost every area. Can affect almost every area of your life. So once you develop a keystone habit, then it can affect so many other areas. One of the exercises that I do with my clients is what's called the wheel of life. And so basically what we do is we look at several areas of their lives. It's in a wheel, what is called wheel of life. And we begin grading or rating each of those areas. And then the question that we always ask is, how will changing this one area affect all the others? Okay, so we're looking at relationships and work and spirituality and community involvement and family and on and on and on. And so sometimes people will rate a particular area as, they'll give it on a scale of 1 to 10, they'll say something is a 2 or 3. And the question is, if we adjust that area, if we bring that area up to a 7, 8, 9, how does that now affect the other areas, right? Because sometimes that area is a keystone area, right? So just like we have keystone habits, we can have keystone areas. And so that affecting that area can affect everything else. So keystone habits can have ripple effects, domino effects, if you will. And then a keystone habit is foundational, right? So kind of piggybacking on that last point, is that because it's foundational, because it's so basic, because it encompasses, because it's the basis, it's the basement, it's the support for so many other things, that once you get the keystone habit fixed, or you develop a keystone habit, then you will find that you have benefits in lots of different areas of your life. Okay, so it has a domino effect, and it is foundational, so that it helps to support lots of different areas in your life. And you want to make sure that you're doing all the things that you need to do to be able to set these keystone habits up. Now you guys are seeing some pauses because my glucose monitor is going off and it's telling me that my blood sugar is low. As you know, we've been tracking. I've got a couple of monitors on me right now, and it's telling me my blood sugar is low. So that's why you see this thing keeps going off, because it's interrupting the video. But I'm good, right? I'm good. So that just means that, as you guys know, I have been fasting, and I just came off the fast several hours ago and ate, and I don't think my blood sugar has come up quite enough yet. One of the foundational things that we're doing is fasting. But if you've not done so, go ahead and make sure you get onto our platform, get onto our YouTube channel, Dwain Woode MD, and you will see those there. So for our consistency, for our success, for achieving those goals that we've set, then we've got to be able to identify those keystone habits, those things that, if done, will have significant ripple effect in all areas of our lives. They are foundational, they are simple, they are measurable, and they will ripple throughout the other areas of your life if we find the correct foundational keystone habits. I shouldn't say foundational keystone habits, but I should say find the keystone habits. Which means that we've got to be honest. We've got to look at ourselves. We've got to be able to say, hey, I am not succeeding in this area. I found this particular pattern that I've developed, and this pattern has not served me, and so I need to make a change. Okay? That takes introspection. It takes having some emotional intelligence. Let me come this way so I don't get that guy in my background. It takes some emotional intelligence. It takes mindfulness. And it takes us being aware of ourselves and being aware of those around us and using that to our success. That's what emotional intelligence is. We'll talk more about emotional intelligence and mindfulness as we go through these next 100 days. But you'll find that a lot of the principles that we talk about are principles that are not just good for our health, but if we can have successes in these areas in our health, they will have a ripple effect in almost every area of our lives. Okay? Finances, relationships, in our job, in our education, in our organization, right? And I can keep going on and on and on. But having these foundational things fixed will affect a lot of areas. One of the things I found over the course of my interaction with patients, let this bike go by. My interaction with patients, I was saying one of the things I found in my interaction with patients, with clients, with customers, and even people who may stop me and talk to me about some of the changes that they've seen in me personally, is that there are these areas, I shouldn't say things, there are these areas that each of us may know, may recognize. Sometimes it's hidden, sometimes it's forgotten. But once we begin talking about them, once we begin saying, hey, how do I address this particular area? We find that that has such a profound impact on a significant number of the other areas in our lives. And starting with our health is an amazing place to be, because if we can become healthy, then we have sometimes the energy, we have the gumption, we have the push, we have the support to be able to make changes in those other areas. But if we're not healthy, if we're tired, if we're fatigued all the time, if we're worried about, that next chest pain or heart attack or whatever it is, then our mind is taken up with that, and we don't have energy to do other things. And so, oh, gotta be careful with that. So you will hear me say often that the two most valuable things we have are time and health. And the question that I ask in those areas is, how are we managing our time, and are we doing a good job of taking care of our health? Because if we're lacking in either of those, then we really are setting ourselves up for failure, and we're at a disadvantage. Because if you have time but not health, you're tired. You don't feel like doing anything. You don't have the gumption. You don't have the push. You don't have the support. You don't have the want to. You don't want to get up and go. And if you have health but you don't have time, that's not a good place to be in either, because it takes time to make changes. So wherever you find yourself right now, I want you to make the determination, I want you to make the commitment that you're going to be consistent. Whatever the health benefit you're looking for, whatever the change that you want to make, whatever the success you want to have, it all begins with consistency. And to be consistent, in order to set yourself up for success, then you've got to understand what are these fundamental things that we've got to put in place so that you can be successful. Because you don't want every time to have to make the decision, am I going to do this thing that's good for my health, right? We want to set up these patterns. We want to have these routines. And that's why finding these keystone habits is so important, because once we get it, because it's foundational, because it supports everything else, it will be much easier to maintain it. It'll be easier to be consistent with it, and you begin to see those changes and those successes in your life. And success begets success. When you see that first pound go away, you're going to keep doing what you're doing to lose that pound. When you see that blood sugar improves, you're going to want to keep doing what you're doing to improve the blood sugar. When you go to your doctor and they say, hey, your A1C is better, you're going to want to keep doing what you did to get that A1C better. When you get off of medication, when you look in the mirror and you have to buy some new clothes because the clothes that you're wearing right now just seem big on you because you've lost some weight. I'm going to tell you, and just my personal experience, right? When I go somewhere now and someone says to me, Dr. Woode, you've changed. And people will say, you look great. Or, oh, doc, you got to buy a new whatever, right? Because that one looks too big. You know what that does? Yeah, that says to me, okay, let's keep doing what we're doing. Right? We like it. We like the encouragement. And I want to meet you in these digital spaces. I want to meet you in person sometime. For some of you that we're running, we're back. So for some of you, we'll get into these spaces together and we'll see each other and we can encourage each other because we're being consistent. We encourage each other because we see each other. We encourage each other because we're part of the community. But I want to make sure that you are in your space right now, making sure that you are looking at what are these keystone habits that you've got to develop. Okay, so make sure that you continue joining us as we go through this 100 days of consistency, these 100 days of walking, these 100 days of improving our metabolic health, and we will continue to see you in these digital streets. All right, have a good one. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.